Yes, guys, we're live. A new show, a new beginning. Welcome to everyone who's catching us on the live feed on Twitter. We are live. That's exciting, and we hope a lot of you keep pouring in um, as we do this new show. Yes, new show, first episode, and let's introduce it real quick. What's the whole reason for it? Why are we here? And it's very simple, really. All we want to do is basically get some chats together and make some sense of current market events. And we'll be doing that every week. So you can expect this live feed on Twitter every week. Now it's on Friday. Usually it will be on Thursdays. Yeah, we're just gonna chop it up. We'll have a few of our team members coming on. It might be different ones, but it's basically a fixed rotation of a couple analysts that wanna talk about stuff. And we'll have on guests. And later on, we'll release the episode on YouTube. So sometime during this weekend, we'll try to do it on Saturdays. But for this first one, we're kind of close to that, so it might be Sunday. Um, so yeah, with me I have Daniel, um, our lead researcher at the firm, um, member of the firm since day one. So very excited to have him on with us. And also we have D, which is actually one of our newest additions to the team. And I'm very excited to have a chat with you two guys. So yeah, let's kick it off. This is Market Cap. Let's go. How are you guys doing?
All good. Can't complain. Market always could be better, but you can't ever have the clear skies without the rainy days. Half the battle in this industry is just showing up. It's easy to obsess over price movements in the short term, but considering where we were, 2 years ago, post FTX collapse, I think it's easy for a lot of people to take things for granted when they don't always get the easy mode where you can buy any random token and make a load of money off of it. We are slaves to the quick rich schemes in crypto, and at times people let that cloud their judgment.
I fully agree. I fully agree. Daniel,
Whew.
welcome to the show.
Yeah, uh, I'm doing all right. I guess I'm feeling better than the markets. Yeah, so we'll get into it. A lot of good news,
For
but
sure.
it's not affecting the prices too much, unfortunately, especially not Bitcoin. Yep.
Yeah, Bitcoin. Let's start talking on that. Uh, so yeah, first let's discuss the state of the market right now. Let's pull up the BTC chart for a second. Let me share my screen. Here we'll pull it up. Here we go.
Whew.
Yeah, guys. What do you want? 5 days? All right. So yeah, pretty wide range. What's driving this price action, guys?
Yeah, you can already see it on the chart. Those whipsaws, man, like those really large wicks. There's so much uncertainty. Like you have tariffs. When it comes to the tariffs, Trump is literally like he's flip flopped. It's like 5 or 6 times. Like it's not even an exaggeration, right? He's actually flip flopped on the tariffs like 5 or 6 times. Saying he's going to do it, saying he's not, and then now it's at a point where like the tariffs are live, but like he has an exemption that yeah makes like a lot of the goods from Canada and Mexico like, the tariffs don't apply to them for a month, right? So then it's still uncertain. Like you don't know after a month is he going to renew this? Is he going to is he going to raise the tariff? Is he going to just uh, remove the tariff? I don't know. No one even knows. And that's just one thing. And then yeah, you obviously have the reserve announcement. So that came out yesterday. Well, before that, you had his Truth Social post, and he didn't even mention Bitcoin at first, right? The first post, it's
Yeah, the
XRP.
crypto reserve.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So he posted that on his own social media site. He posts some funny things on there from time to time. Yeah, and it wasn't even it didn't even have Bitcoin. It had Sol, XRP, and Cardano. So it's like the American coins, I guess. Right? He probably just saw like his team probably just gave him like a list of tokens that the government had seized, and he's like, oh, like which ones are made in America, and then he just put that in the first post. Um, and then his team probably had to tell them like, okay, mention Bitcoin and Ethereum as well. So yeah, and then obviously now the focus is more on Bitcoin. Um, yeah, we can get into that. What are your thoughts, D?
Yeah, I mean the tariffs is an interesting thing. I think for a lot of people out there, you should look into learning about. There was a guy called William McKinley. He was the American president, and he was known for implementing tariffs. And he also was a huge proponent of the idea of gold as ultrasound money. And Trump did his interview with Rogan before the election, and he's a huge he maybe he's modeling himself off of McKinley in this idea that he wants America to be the richest country. This repeated obsession with we're going to win so much, we're going to be tired of winning. You factor in how there's a lot of similarities between the two. So in his head, he's probably trying to emulate some of the successes this guy McKinley had. But obviously, the world's changed a lot since then. You can blame things on globalization, however much you want, but however much people want to deny, the world's more connected than ever. So, like right now, all three of us, we're doing a podcast all from different time zones. That's a byproduct of globalization and speaking online. So it's a tricky one to know if he'll follow through with them. I think market might get to a stage where it brushes these tariffs off so many times that eventually he'll play his hand, and then maybe we'll see a bigger shock to the market. Or is it art of the deal, like everyone likes to go on about? I think in reality, you can't obsess too much over one person, because at the end of the day, we're an industry that was founded on decentralization, stepping away from government. And there is pockets of irony with so many on CT being overly obsessed with what Trump's going to say, what Trump's going to do. Is he going to save our bags because I didn't take any profits and I round tripped all my shit coins? In reality, probably not. But you can see that in the chart with these whipsaws, in the S&P, you see the VIX very elevated, which again, it shows this new regime that we're living in now with Trump in power making these outlandish statements. So I think it's an interesting state either way. They obviously want the stock market down to bring the bond yields down. How that fares for our internet currencies, no one's really sure. I mean, most people would say, well, if the stocks come down, then Bitcoin's going to crater. Either it's lagging and we've got some big pain in the months ahead, or is there that glimmer of hopium that maybe, just maybe, Bitcoin might be slightly more protected this time to some of these large price swings? At the end of the day, it's hard to put a finger on what will happen for certain. If I could, I wouldn't be sat here right now. I'd be living on an island somewhere, basking in riches from predicting the future. But ultimately, you look at the trend of crypto and blockchain as a whole, and if you're with a decent enough time horizon, day to day movements shouldn't stress you out too much. If you're checking charts daily, go touch some grass. I think that's the easiest bit of advice you could give anyone ultimately.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think like it's like a rude awakening. You know what I mean? Yeah, Trump got elected. Obviously, everything did very well after the election, and now it's like a brutal awakening. It's like, man, what if Biden, or not Biden, but what if like Kamala got in? Like, I don't know. I think it would have been pretty brutal, like November 6th or whatever, if Kamala got elected. But like, it's like no one wants to feel the pain. You know what I mean? Like transitioning to more of like a manufacturing type economy. Like no one likes that stuff, right? Like you're gonna tell the guy working in like the air conditioned office, like, no, we're trying to build like, yeah, we're going to build some factories. You got to get back in the factory. Like no one likes that stuff, right? Yeah, the markets obviously don't like this stuff because it takes a while to build new stuff, right? So he's like sacrificing, short term gains in the market to hopefully get back into manufacturing, get back to even like shipbuilding, things of that nature. Yeah, less like reliant on imports, less reliant on like the financial sector. So yeah, of course, the natural reaction is that markets have been taking it pretty badly. So stocks are now, I mean, I don't know what they're doing today. I didn't check, but they're like negative since the election. So yeah, the entire move. So actually, that's like some copium for Bitcoin, right? Because Bitcoin didn't retrace its move. Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. But yeah, I mean, like you have Chinese stocks, European stocks outperforming. So it's like the opposite. It's like, oh, he's gonna make America great again. But then actually, like after he got in, right? Because it takes a couple months, right, from the election for him to actually get in. And then after he actually got in, it's like, oh, okay, maybe it's a little harder, right? You can't just tweet stuff and then it makes America great again, right? It's like a little harder, and you just got to deal with it. So yeah, we'll see how the macro situation plays out. Like you mentioned, their priority is like lowering the yields, right? So yeah, we've been touching on that the past couple of weeks in our macro sections in our macro dose newsletters. I mean, yeah, it's been subtly said like the past couple of weeks, and then it's become more. And they've been saying like the quiet part out loud more recently. Like even Elon Musk said, right? Like he doesn't even know. Like, yeah, the guy shouldn't really be talking about like lowering yields, right? It's not really his job. But he has said it, right? He's saying like don't short the bond market. Like you don't want to bet against me. Don't short. So that's always kind of funny. So they're definitely like more focused on lowering the 10-year right now. It seems. I don't know like when that might change, if it'll change. Yeah.
It's worth noting as well that I think Trump himself has got a huge amount of money in property, in real estate in America. And, it's in his best interests for his own bags, his own physical bags of bricks and mortar to bring down the 10-year. So ultimately, when you look at it in that respect, you could argue, part of the reason that we saw crypto have so much outperformance over the last 2 years was it from incompetence from government and deficits growing, from things Janet Yellen was doing in the bond market, and actually now like people are sobering up to this problem. We need to try and somehow address this problem of growing deficits. But then was the uncomfortable truth that part of that was what helped propel crypto into such high levels? It's a tricky one. I think most people will always be able to benefit from not obsessing too much over all of these things. Many people could probably buy a few coins now, log off for 6 months, maybe even a year, come back and be pleasantly surprised. But again, in this crypto world that we're in, most people are terminally online and couldn't face to not look at the price of Bitcoin even for one day. So when you take into account the participants within this market, it's going to be a tough ride. You're looking at price every day. Why isn't price going up? Trump said something positive. Why isn't positive news making the price go up anymore? Even we were in regime before where negative news would make the price go up. And even now, any news does nothing. So what does that tell you on the whole of the state of the market that we're in? Is that there's still uncertainties ahead. But I think for most people out there who are in the typical altcoin heavy portfolio, who have been clamoring for alt season for months and months on end, it's probably been really tough. There's probably people who round tripped all of their altcoin gains, don't own any stables, don't own any Bitcoin. And I think that is probably why you can see such awful sentiment on CT, because that's the sobering truth of when the market shows its hand. There's an expression I love, right? Sometimes in the market, it's similar to when you're at the beach and the sea has gone out far enough, you can see everyone who went swimming without their swimming shorts on. And ultimately, I think that's the sort of moment that we're in at the minute.
In what sense?
In the sense that, we were so conditioned from the 2019 to 2021 cycle of this ridiculous altcoin outperformance. You could buy any shiny new layer one and make massive multiples on it. This is the alt season that people remembered. The Family Guy meme, Pepperidge Farm remembers when the game board that we're on has changed. With such heavy ETF flows, that was a large driver in pushing the price of Bitcoin up so high. And sure, there's been pockets of altcoin outperformance, but with each new meta, it became shorter and shorter and shorter. We had the meme mania from 2023 up until the collapse over the last few weeks with the Libra scam, all the FUD that came out with this Calcia Ventures and Meteora. And we had the AI meta. And I mean, the AI meta, geez, there could have been people who bought some of the AI tokens. I mean, myself included. I bought some of these tokens with the assumption, this will be an easy, 3 to 6 month hold. It'll be the new meta. All the money will flow from memes into AI. But in reality, all the money just left. It
Yep.
didn't save our bags. And then ultimately people are still reminiscing of the old altcoin days where they just seemed to go and go and go.
The game's changed. Yeah. The game has definitely changed. I mean, I think one way it's changed is like there's not enough like money. The retail money is not flowing. Obviously, into crypto nearly as much, right? The money that's coming into crypto, it's like it's not the hot money. You know what I mean? It's not moving around, right? It's like going into Bitcoin and stuff. It's like 40-year-old, 50-year-old dads like buying ETFs. Obviously, like institutions buying ETFs. So that stuff's not moving down the totem pole. And now, yeah, there's no like, it's not even like cycles of alts. It's like, yeah, pockets of outperformance. So it's one thing at a time, right? It's like some memes came around in 2023, but they actually like, they started to, really come into the row and like after Q1, like, right, like at the end of Q1. So yeah, over the summer when everything else was very, like, that's when memes got to shine. And then, meme, like when, Murad started, getting more traction, like it was like the top of memes, and then AI came. So like you can't have two. Yeah, there's been an inability for more than one sector to have like a proper pump, like for more than a couple weeks. Like it's just one thing at a time. There's not enough money for multiple things to just pump for even like 2-3 weeks. Yeah, it just gets spread around way too much. So yeah, but I mean that's nothing new. Like we've been in that situation since January, right? So now we're in March now, and then more recently, like Bitcoin has joined the party, right? Bitcoin's gone down. So yeah, we'll get into that. Some of the reasons, Stefano, if you want to quickly mention the reserve announcement, maybe.
So today we're signing
talking about this,
a very
right?
historic and executive order establishing a
Yep.
strategic Bitcoin reserve and digital asset stockpile. This is a promise that you made throughout
Let's
the
run it.
campaign,
It's
and
not
today
that long.
the reserve will be capitalized with Bitcoin that the federal government already owns, so it won't cost taxpayers a dime.
I like how he needs like a guy to explain it to him. Like he doesn't know what it is. He needs like a dude.
Premature sales of Bitcoin over the past years cost American taxpayers over $17 billion in lost value because we didn't have a long-term strategy.
Right.
Now we do. So.
And this is something you believe in fully?
100%, yeah.
Okay.
And the whole community believes in it.
Very good. And they made the promise, right?
Absolutely.
It sort of reminds me of like you're at Christmas trying to explain crypto to your dad or your uncle, and there is almost reminiscence of that when you see him even signing that order. It's almost like he's forgotten. He can't even remember. Even you can go back to his speech at the Libertarian Conference, giving these promises. I'm going to free Russ Ulbricht and do this with Bitcoin. And look, if you're frank, he has done what he said he was going to do. There is now this law for the Bitcoin Reserve. He freed Russ Ulbricht. But again, I think CT, they find these things, they latch onto these ideas that straight away, the first thing Trump would do is pump their bags to pump Bitcoin to hundreds of thousands, to not hit 100K, but like up to 300, 400,000, like that. When in reality, he's an old man. Like, how many old men do you know that they forget what the day of the week is? They forget so many things. They ask you
Yeah,
to,
how old is he? Is 78?
yeah,
79?
he's not a
I
spring
mean,
chicken. He might forget things, and maybe even Barron has to help him fix his computer, update his.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's part of the job. Like he signed so many things, right? So he signed over, I believe it was over 100, or like almost 200 executive orders on day one. Like so, he like smashed through the record of executive orders. I mean, you're not gonna know every single what's in every single one of those orders, right? And that's fine, right? You can still be like an effective president, right? You're not supposed to be have concentrated domain expertise in any one thing, right? You're supposed to be like a catch-all kind of thing, and then you have your cabinet, you have your advisors tell you what to do. I was listening to a pod. I actually forget who it was. It was like an OG founder in like I don't think it's Bitcoin Magazine, but one of those like more OG like crypto names. And he said he got in contact with Trump and like he pitched the idea of the reserve to him, yeah, as like a Fort Knox type thing, and like that was the main way. That was like the only way for him to make sense of it. It's like, oh, like Fort Knox, good, right? Like Bitcoin equals Fort Knox, like but better, like it's digital. So yeah, I mean, like you have to think. There's probably 10 other things that Trump spends more time thinking about than this Bitcoin thing, right? Like Russia, like oh, like I got to get the tariffs, I got to get. So I mean, it's not even a bad thing. It's not bad that like he doesn't know exactly, right? He doesn't know that like ADA and XRP are kind of like washed up, kind of tokens, right? Like that's not his job, right? So his advisor should have told him, all right, like stop, like maybe we need a little bit more due diligence, not just like choosing the tokens that are made in America. When like yeah, like Solana is not bad, obviously. Solana, Bitcoin, ETH, and then yeah. So I think his team definitely got in his ear. Oh, go ahead.
Isn't it also partly that like part of how media works in this day and age? We got like this camera crew in the White House office, and it goes straight on Twitter. Boom!
Yeah,
Like this wouldn't have happened like I don't know 5 or 10 years ago. It
yeah,
usually would have like
everything is
something
televised.
professional come out. Yeah.
That's interesting. Like I'm not. I mean, this is like a pretty normal thing, right? Like the past presidents, they had that as well, but it's not to this extent. Like he's answering questions literally while signing stuff, right? Like Biden wasn't doing that to the same extent, not as much, right? Like it was kind of
He
hard.
embraces it.
Yeah, it was kind of hard to like wheel Biden out to a press conference, and then like Trump probably he might do too much press conference. Like he's posting too much stuff, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, but I mean, I think the reserve is a no-brainer.
Right, yeah. The news in and of itself, isn't it like pretty positive?
It is positive.
Or what should we make of it?
Be positive. So I think people like, yeah, you don't wick to 95K unless you're expecting like actual like flows from the government. So yeah, I think at 95K, I think maybe it's too high. Right, there's like a price level more associated with like actual buying, and this is repurposing, which I think like the more, yeah, I don't think like that's a shock. I think everyone knew it would start like that, just taking the ones that seized from all those exploits and like putting it in a reserve. So he did that with all the coins, all the tokens, I guess like yeah, they threw Sol, XRP, and ADA in there. I don't know how much of those they've seized. I know like they seized a lot of like Solana in the past, but I don't know about XRP, ADA, how much they actually have of that stuff. But yeah, and then now Bitcoin is going to be on an elevated level. I think the key point is that Bitcoin's the only one where like they would even consider trying to buy. Like, so they specifically said it has to be right budget neutral is like the key word, right? That everyone, highlighted, and rightfully so. So it needs to be budget neutral. Can't be like taxpayer money isn't going to be going to this, or like debt. Like they're not going to be printing money to buy Bitcoin. So some people like they actually thought that could happen. I think that was like a kind of foolishly optimistic, right? So like Bitcoin maxis might like that. Like the idea really appeals to them. Like, oh, we're gonna print the fiat, or like we're gonna print the bad money and then buy the good, right? Um, like Gresham's law or whatever, right? The good money drives out the bad. But yeah, I mean, no one knows like what kind of effort is going to go towards finding ways to acquire more. Like, how much of a priority is that? I guess it's David Sachs. Like that's like his full time thing, right? He's figuring out what to do. Like, so yeah, maybe it's like rerouting funds from Doge, right? Because it's not like, oh, we save this money, so it's not taxpayer money. Like, right? We stop the foreign aid, so we'll take the money from foreign aid and buy Bitcoin. Like, or some people are talking about like selling gold, or even just trying to like sort of bypass Congress to have like an emergency, not emergency, but kind of bypass the normally required approvals like, to go about this process, right? Like they made a sovereign wealth fund, so yeah, maybe some of like the assets in the fund can be moved around, and more of it can go to BTC. It remains to be seen, like what serious ideas like could actually be implemented, and how much BTC could it actually end up buying. I mean, if it just turns out to be mining, right? Because like they could do mining, right, and acquire Bitcoin that way. That's obviously like, I guess that'll be one of the least bullish things, right? Because they're just mining it, and then they're presumably not selling the Bitcoin, so that's not as good as just like flat out buying. Yeah, I mean it's pretty early. Like, I guess we'll find out. I mean, right? They have the summit later today. It's going to be in a few hours, right? So I guess we'll hopefully get some more details on that.
Well, let's move on to the summit. There's this going around. Um, it's not confirmed. I thought this is just like
Yeah,
rumored, right? Or
I don't
like
know.
what it might be potentially.
So some of those names are questionable, right? Like CZ. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that long ago that he was literally in jail, right? So like some of these
Couldn't
names
even make it.
don't check out. I don't know where this list came from, but you know,
It's fun though. It's fun though. It's a good bit of fun. But yeah, so the crypto White House crypto summit will be going on. Like, what will be discussed there?
I guess it's a tough question, really. Is it just
Oh,
going to
we
be
don't know.
a big flagship event, just, for the show of it? Everyone forgets, Trump made his name as being on TV, on The Apprentice. Is it just set to be this big sort of showy event without any sort of specific details? Is it going to fit back in line with, this whipsaw price action that we've seen, where we pump into the event, then retrace the entire move? Is it just more of this like big showman just to satisfy voters, crypto voters who, lent their votes or voted for Trump from the Biden because they hated the Biden administration's staunch anti-crypto stance? And but the interesting thing to note, right, is that I think Paolo Aldino is there from Tether. So for a lot of the Tether, yeah, I think there's a picture of him in DC. So for a lot of the Tether truthers out there, you know, for as long as I've been losing money in these markets, people have predicted that Tether would cause the collapse of crypto.
Yeah, there's even a new generation of like the Tether, like the All In podcast. That there's the host Jason, like he doesn't even care about crypto, but yeah, he's like on the bandwagon now, like shitting on Tether. So that's kind of funny. Yeah, because I mean they've been proven like over and over again, right? Multiple DPEGs or whatever, and their dominance has just grown. So yeah, now you have Circle. So I mean, I think what some people might have been concerned about is like, yeah, regulatory bullying. We'll see like to what extent something like that, like if it plays a role. Like, yeah, are they actually going to like explicitly favor USDC over USDT? Tether, Tether actually made like some interesting investments. They invested 700 million into Rumble. I thought that was really random. It sounds like that's a lot of money for Rumble. I don't know if you used a Rumble app. It's like it doesn't feel like something that should be getting 700M. So yeah, I mean that's an interesting one. We'll have to see. Like I don't think there's like an agenda for the summit, right? So it's mostly speculation at this point. Hopefully, I mean the big thing would be if they like shed some more light on some of the ways that they would think about acquiring more BTC, right? I think that would be like the best case scenario. And then the other thing is the no capital gains tax. Yeah, I don't really have too much thoughts there. I don't know. Some people think it could be bearish short term. I mean, it could, but I think it's a good. I think it should be good mid to long term, but it's all dependent on the macro, obviously.
Yeah, and I think some countries have some laws where I think if you've held your Bitcoin for over a year or 2 years or something like that, then you can be exempt from the CGT.
Yep.
But the
Yeah,
interesting thing
long term
again,
cap gains.
yeah, with Tether is I'm pretty sure they're one of the largest holders of some of T-bills. I think they hold as much as Germany. So
Yeah, they do. Yeah, it's like the same as Germany and South Korea, like around there. Yeah.
yeah, so they've almost sort of like Trojan horse their way into the US economy. So again, you can make the argument, well, if Tether goes to zero, what happened? What happens to all those treasuries? Are they just going to dump them all on the open market, send yields soaring? I don't know. As how it relates to this summit, I think it's an interesting event. Will the people from this list actually show up? Or is it going to just be people like Brad Garlinghouse from Ripple, who somehow made his way into DC and put Ripple back into like contention as a huge piece of blockchain tech?
God,
You know,
I hope not.
yeah. And again,
Oh,
we can be biased with our views. There's a lot of people in crypto. We come from we love people who are huge proponents of DeFi, smart contract applications, and then did they get outperformed by their 45, 50-year-old uncle who just watched a few videos that XRP is going to $1,000, it's going to replace the banking system. And so it's interesting again, right? Is something like XRP, has that become easier to explain to the older generation, like guys like Trump? You say, oh, it's a coin made in America, it's going to replace banking. Okay, we'll include that. It sounds great. It's a great coin. So I think often people in crypto can focus so much on these tiny, minute details where we obsess so much, But what about smart contracts? What about on-chain lending? What about AI? What about this and this? Where actually, sometimes it's the most simplistic thing that brings eyes and makes people understand the space. I mean, how long did it take people to accept that Bitcoin equals digital gold? That took years for people to even try to make as a point. And so I think with this summit, it's easy to overlook and think, that everything will be all around these tiny, nuanced, incredibly powerful aspects of crypto. Whereas I'm still a believer that it's going to be much more of just a show event. People will get high leveraged into the event, thinking it will give them, one of these mythical wicks where it's going to propel us to new highs. Because again, if it was going to be that easy, right, everyone would be trading this industry. If it was truly that easy that you could simply just buy before an event like this and it's going to go entirely your way, given the last few weeks of market action. I mean, hey, I'll eat my words. If that maybe I've jinxed it now, or maybe this is going to be the event you go gig along into and retire your bloodline forever. But people forget things take time. Most people, I don't know what the percentages of people who even own crypto in like the biggest countries in the world are, but it's still not on the level, of like people who have Instagram downloaded on their Apple on their
Yeah, I mean,
phone.
it's decently high in the US, right? It's thought to be like over 40 million people, right? So it's
Mhm.
actually like substantial. But 60% own stocks, right? So I mean, I guess there's like you could look at it from a lens of like there's more room. Yeah, there's a lot of room to grow, and crypto definitely is like correlated with U.S. stocks specifically, right? Not any others. Because I mean, yeah, it's supposed to be like, oh, like the M2 money supply is going to increase, and right, that's not only U.S. but European and Chinese markets are doing well right now, and it doesn't like none of that's going into crypto, right? Like China's putting out some measures to get some more money flowing around. I think Germany is looking at like getting a little less strict, right, with like trying to fund their defense sector and stuff like that, and trying to implore like the other countries in the EU as well. But yeah, crypto doesn't care about that stuff, right? It's just the U.S. stocks, definitely. So yeah, I mean, like when you think about like Trump trying to please people, I don't think it's about the voters like that. I mean, the voters are significant, but like, yeah, crypto definitely was not like a big part of from the. It's not important for the voters, but for the donors, that's a little bit of a different story. Yeah. So I think at one point, like the leading before Elon Musk made his PAC, right, his political action committee. Yeah, the leading one, it was like a crypto PAC. So that was like the leading PAC for Trump. So I think like it definitely caught his eye, and yeah, you got to do like when the donors give you money, like you gotta change your tune a little bit, whether you like it or not. So we'll see what comes up. I mean, I definitely think it should be better than that previous thing they had, right? Like what is it, the crypto ball, the crypto winter ball. That thing was just like shake hands, right? Meet people. It wasn't anything like public. Yeah, Trump he wasn't even there, right? It was like his kids there. So I think it should be more substantial than that. But yeah, I'm not expecting like I don't know. I'm not expecting too much. I mean, they already rolled out the Bitcoin strategic reserve and then the U.S. digital asset stockpile. So like that is the markets didn't like it, but that is significant, right? Like that is actually a big deal. Um, so like how much more ammo can you have like to please that small part of the base and keep that part of them happy? So I don't know. Like there's only so many things that he can say. Like there's only so many times he can tweet like to help the crypto markets, right? So maybe before he got elected and like he actually started, you know, doing stuff that's like not good for the macro environment and like making people question, uh, the current state of the macro environment. Like he could have gotten away with just tweeting, right? Because then he can just say like he can lie flat out. He can say, "Oh, we're going to buy Bitcoin," right? So it's before he gets into office. He can just say all kinds of stuff, and that could really move the market. Like I think he could have definitely got like 125K just him posting like bullish stuff on his own platform, right? But now, like, yeah, he's in office, so there's more checks on him, right? Like he can't just like flat out lie and say like we're going to buy Bitcoin, right? Yeah, it's time to act. There's only so many things that the president can do. Like, yeah, it's just a system of checks and balances, right? Like even the small amount of foreign aid, he tried to like cancel foreign aid. It wasn't even that much. It was like $8 billion or something like that, and it got blocked by like not even yeah, it got blocked by the Supreme Court and like a local court like in Washington D.C. So he got the president of the U.S. got like blocked by like a relatively small like local court. So there's like a lot of things at play that can prevent him from doing what he wants with crypto. Yeah,
Right. But isn't it also worrying to some extent that the things that have happened so far, and I'm mainly thinking of like Trump and Melania coin right here, like have not necessarily been like super positive for crypto to say the least. Like they're like it, and things that have been happening since, there's like a lot of this sentiment going on CT that the Trump family is kind of leveraging it every way they can to pump their own bags. Now that might be an exaggeration, but like, I mean, it does sort of create an image, right? It paints a picture, let's say. Um,
yeah.
you think that's a valid viewpoint?
I mean, I think it should be separated. Like, I think the Trump Lonnie stuff should definitely be separated. I think that's just something that it's like him selling a hat. Like, it's completely yeah, because he's done NFTs in the past, right? So I don't think that should be viewed on the same like lens as like his Bitcoin strategy, right? So it's different people in his ear, right? Like for Melania and Trump coins, like maybe his kids, or like his his private life, like his team from his private life, and then on the right side, on his right ear, that's like the Bitcoin stuff. Like it's different people. Like yeah, you have David Sachs. Like David Sachs isn't talking about the Trump coin, right? He doesn't care about like Melania. I mean, no one does at this point, right? So, I mean, I don't like. It's obviously not a good look, like for Trump from a personal, yeah, like for him as a person. Um, but yeah, I don't think it really affects like anything to do with Bitcoin or the more serious like crypto policy going forward.
Basically, no one's coming to save
Okay.
your bags and on.
Oh, sadly, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. If you want to
Well,
rely on news, short-term bits of information to bring your bags back, ultimately it's not going to happen because, you know, if you want if we're actually as a serious industry, which it's not at all, you actually need to build things that do things that actually, can provide some value. And in the era we had of the memes, it was entirely that memes don't provide value. They're social tokens. They're a bit of fun. But then, as it progressed into the degeneracy of these online streamers, on Photon, you know, treating it as if it was on the same level as like guys out there who were, building incredible startup companies, then obviously, there's something wrong. There's an imbalance there. And ultimately, I don't think anyone's going to take the industry as seriously as some people hope until there really is, a half decent breakout consumer app, something that actually does help people, something that actually does provide value to this world. Because, while someone can brag how they got rich from meme coins or some other crypto tokens, people, all right, that's impressive. You got rich from that. But ultimately, that money's not going anywhere. That money's just sat in someone's wallet. That money that someone made from making 1,000x on meme coins, that money's not going to employees. That money's not going into a company that's going to go and actually build more products, have more customers that people outside of this industry will actually see. So I think that that's the element of it, which I think has led people into this over obsession into what's Trump going to do to save our bag? What's Trump going to say to pump the market? And then it makes you think, well, like, come on, guys, like, check your privilege. Like, you could have bought Bitcoin 2.5 years ago, and you've made some decent money doing that. But to make these outlandish statements that Trump's going to do everything he can to pump up the crypto market, whilst there's a lot of pain that should still come over the next year or two, I think it is short sighted in a sense. So I think that there is a sense of reality that some investors need to understand. But at the same time, it's not a serious industry. So there's always going to be these ridiculous runners. There's always going to be these individuals that make money from trading ridiculous tokens.
Right. Yeah. You had JD Vance token, the
Yeah,
Please token.
please.
That's kind of funny, but it didn't go that high. But hey, it did get me to chuckle a little bit. I mean, markets are down right now. Yeah, I think like when it comes to regulations and stuff, like I think it just takes so long. There's a lot of good news actually for crypto, like the SEC dropping cases. Like some of it's actually too good news, right? Like they said, meme coins are collectibles, right? So that's actually like too good news because who actually meme coins definitely are not collectible, right? Like when you buy a Pokemon card, it's like there's not a dude at the factory who like gets 50 of his friends to buy the Pokemon card for like a penny. So it's obviously not like for me that one was like that was too much of good news. Like okay, I think you should actually enforce a little bit here, but whatever. But I mean, it takes time for like those regulations, even Doge, like stuff like that. People were bullish, like, oh, like, they're going to remove the red tape in the economy. People are going to be able to build. Like, yeah, we're going to unleash the shackles like of business or whatever. But I mean, yeah, it takes longer, right? It's not immediate. Like, if you could choose between having like this current situation where it's like the macro kind of like sucks, right? Trump's like, oh, we're gonna like we don't care about stocks, or like, we're gonna lower yields, like we're gonna be more tight with our money, right? Or if you could have like a person where a situation where there's the regulation is very unfavorable to crypto, but you just print money. Like I feel like I'd rather have the second one. After a year, that might change, right? Right? Because that's what you had with Biden. You had, the 2020, 2021 bull market. And I mean, more of like those regulations started to come into effect after that bull market. But yeah, if like purely from a price POV, if you could choose between like bad regulations, like strict on crypto regulations, but printing a lot of money, or good regulations, but the money's not, it's not being printed, like I think I'll take the first one for a bit, and then after a while you'll regret it. You'll be like, ah, God.
Well, yeah, that's the classic story, right? Of like short-term pain versus long-term,
Yeah, but I
good,
mean, you could have
and
had
vice
both.
versa.
You could have had like a good crypto state of crypto regulation, and not have like the stock market going to shit. Like you could have had both. It's not like he's forced to like, oh, I got to do this. Like it's the only way. Like no, you could have just done the same thing and had really good, and just like yeah, let people in crypto build in the U.S. Let let the ETFs be approved. So I mean, yeah, when it comes to Trump's effect on crypto, on the prices specifically, not talking about like the actual health of the industry, but the prices, like, yeah, he could have had his cake and eaten it too. I just don't, it's not a big priority for him, right? Um, but I mean, there is the fact that crypto's, it's like, it's much smaller, right? So like he can't pump the stock market with tweets, or he can, but like not for like a long time, right? So crypto's like, it's not even, yeah, we're below 3 trillion now, or we're right. I think we're right on the needle of 3 trillion. I'm not too sure, but like that's a small market. So if he cared, he could, you know, try to pump it, get some money into alts in a way that just doesn't work with the stock market, right? Like stocks are fully adopted, right? And everyone that could own stocks does already. So you can't. Um,
Doesn't this go back though to Dee's point about what like we've come as an industry, we've arrived at a sort of paradigm where it's like instead of just like focusing on building good shit, we're kind of like looking for external events that should be bullish or should be catalysts instead of just kind of being like heads down building and just letting it ride out, and playing the long game.
It's the nature of it because protocols they can have a liquid tradable token so fast, right? Versus like Stripe still is not, they haven't gone public, right? Yeah, so yeah, when you do that, then you have to play that game. Then you have to care, right? So some countries, they don't have 60% of the people that own stocks. They have 10% that own stocks. So it doesn't matter if the price is going down, right? So you can do things and maintain, a good approval rating or whatever, and even if the stock market isn't doing too well. So yeah, it's just like when you have the token as a measure of success so early on, yeah, like it could be, actually an impediment because then you start prioritizing, price over like actual like strength and health, right? So I mean, I think that's definitely part of it, and it's just the fact that like the best way to make like for protocols to make money in crypto is just speculation, right? Like, so the fastest startups to actually to get $100 million in revenue, like they're all crypto protocols. Actually, like, so people might not know this who are not in crypto, and like they think you're lying when you tell them this. That stuff like Pump Fund, like Aerodrome, Athena, like they've actually hit $100 million in revenue like quicker than like some of these big name Web2 startups. But like it's all, yeah, like Pump Fund, Aerodrome. Like, this is all stuff it's speculative, right? It's not. Yeah, it's like the token can go up. Like when it comes to what the project actually does, like it just, unless you buy other tokens. I mean, Polymarket was like the furthest deviation from this, right? Of like a positive, yeah, more of like a positive kind of thing where it actually had utility, right? Yeah, people could track the election, like track sentiment. So it did have like an information tool that was helpful. I mean, but after the election, there's nothing serious that needs to be tracked. So its utility kind of went away. I don't know what the next thing might be. It can have like more value, like to non-crypto natives, and actually be an interesting thing that you could be proud of. And be like, oh yeah, like that's a crypto protocol. But yeah, I think hopefully with the regulations in US, like it'll open up doors and we can see it sooner than later. Robinhood, they're doubling down on crypto. They listed the Arbitrum token. They needed that badly. Like the Arb token's down, it's down bad, right? So they listed Arbitrum. We have Robinhood's. So you have like reassuring signs like that, like big companies like Robinhood, Bank of America doubling down on crypto, doubling down on stable coins. Obviously Stripe, big into stable coins. Yeah, but it just doesn't translate to the price, right? Like Stripe buying Bridge, like a stablecoin protocol. That's not like, it doesn't really help anyone. Like, I mean, it's good. Like it makes crypto sound more legit, but yeah, like what token are you going to buy after you hear that Stripe bought some stablecoin protocol? Yeah, so I just don't see like the regulation, the state of the regulatory space. It is improving, but I don't see it translating to token price. Even something like RWAs, right? Like getting stocks on chain. Like how does that? That's arguably worse because now if like I'm on the blockchain and I gotta buy something, like I can buy like an actual stock, or like I can buy this like shitcoin. Like it's arguably worse. Like I might choose the former now when it previously didn't exist. So I mean, stable coins, RWAs, some of these sectors, it's not conducive to lifting the prices of all these tokens.
Especially with how many tokens we have now.
Yeah,
We get more tokens than ever, more layer ones than ever, more layer twos than ever. Anyone can launch their own layer two. I mean, even Sony. Sony has their
yeah,
own.
Sonium.
Yeah, Sonium, right? In 2020, that would have been revolutionary. People would have been going crazy. Sony has their own blockchain. This is it, boys. We hit the big leagues. Bring out the champagne. Tell your girlfriend to to wear the red panties tonight. We've made it. Whereas actually, I guess people forget that.
Nothing burger now.
Well,
Yeah.
Bitcoin has no shareholders. There is no CEO. People frequently cite the lack of fundamentals in this industry, which is why it's almost ironic that we've come full circle after all these meme coins, things without fundamentals, and we find ourselves looking at the tokens now that provide value, that have things like token buybacks, that have things like cash flow, that have these elements which are so important in the traditional markets. So it's a weird state of affairs, and I guess that's why you've seen these tokens like Hyperliquid with the assistance fund buyback from fees from the platform. We've seen Aave just announce their token buyback program. Is it with money from the treasury, something like that, or fees? So yeah, so there is elements of this sort of journey back to fundamentals, but then the fundamentals weren't ever there in the first
Yeah.
place.
Fundamentals aren't fun.
Yeah,
Fundamentals aren't fun. That's the reality of it. Like, so I just saw this right now. Robinhood just listed Pengu, the Pengu token. Like, that's more fun, right? Listing pudgy penguins, dude. Like, so I mean, it's just the reality of it.
and it's reflected, right, with the volumes on Solana right now, down so much since the big pump fund mania. People constantly saying, oh, that's it, Solana's cooked, it's over, it's finished. So reminiscent of post FTX. But then, I think Franklin Templeton announced they're launching a money market fund on Solana. So in the midst of all this sort of people who are within the crypto environment, who are constantly online, what's the next daily runner? In the background, we have these positive bits of news, like you were saying earlier, the DeFi broker rules in America, all of these other things that have gone on. So it's kind of like the market split down two ways, with the regulars who are PvPing each other on daily runners, small market cap tokens. But then in the background, we have things like this Aave stuff going on. And, will there be an era where I remember at the start of this cycle, people were legitimately saying about, it's a good idea that, Bitcoin will probably catch the market cap of silver this cycle, and I think it has overtaken silver by a decent margin now. Is the next step in this some sort of fabled DeFi renaissance where something like Aave ends up, overtaking some of these smaller regional banks in America or the larger banks in America with the TVL that it has? Is it this new economy which exists outside of traditional legacy systems that the people who show up every day are missing that because of this sort of clouded judgment of I need to make as much money as possible in as short time as I can, which hey, everyone wants to. Do you know what I mean? I could sit here right now and say that, oh, I'm pure for this. I only care about the technology and the good that crypto is going to bring.
That's the Ethereum. Yeah, that's the Ethereum approach, right?
Wouldn't we all love to wake up tomorrow and the nuanced shitcoin you own has gone up by 1,000x? Sure, everyone would love that. But I think that, the state that we're in now, with the market being so choppy and things moving up and down, that maybe things like that just do take time. If something like Aave wants to become, the challenger to banks out there, the challenger to some of these well-established firms, but then you could also argue, well, or is this tech more the sort of thing that will just work in the back end of finance applications, where you might log into your stocks and shares account and you're earning yield in their savings account, and a portion of that yield is derived from borrowing and lending in on-chain markets. Maybe that's the progression that people,
Yeah, some banks are have already started rolling stuff out like that. Obviously, yeah, some of the popular fintechs have done stuff like that, like subtly introduce like stable coins, some light crypto trading, that sort of thing. So whether or not like it can benefit Aave, like, I think it's a stretch. I mean, unfortunately, the narrative always pumps more than the fundamental, right? Like, there's never an example of a token like with fundamentals, out pumping just a token that had a really strong narrative, just the way it is. So yeah, I mean, when it comes to playing like the fees game, I think you definitely want to just play the narrative off of the fees, right? Like, oh, people see them extracting fees. Like, I want to own the company that's doing that rather than the actual fees themselves, like, as the thing pushing token price higher. I mean, yeah, so you have stuff like Radium as well, like that. I think they definitely did benefit from like buybacks, things of that nature, but the narrative is always king, right? So, like, yeah, for every token that has like a decent pump off the back of fundamentals, buybacks, there's going to be like 5, 10 that are outperforming just because like XRP or whatever, just like some dudes on TikTok posting about XRP. Yeah, it's just a harsh truth.
and especially with the market caps of these coins being so much smaller when you compare them to stocks. Like a bad day for Nvidia, I think it loses as much as the entire market cap of Ethereum. So people forget how small these things are and how much money is actually required to move the prices of these things higher. Whereas you look at the traditional market with this massive amount of flows of investments that come in from pension funds, asset managers, and ultimately, in crypto, we other than the ETFs, which ultimately you've seen, like we saw in the Bitcoin ETF, this huge amount of just flows that came in. It did make Bitcoin go into, nearly, I don't know what it was at the peak. Was it 2 trillion, just under 2 trillion? And then I guess, is that going to happen to every token? Probably not, because there's just too many. So stop making tokens, man, for the sake of our industry's bags.
That's yeah. That should be the takeaway, the big takeaway from today. Stop creating more tokens. Guys, um, we discussed a lot today. I feel like we just could keep going, but we already ran way over because I mean we're just having a good time. Before we wrap it up, let's do this fun little thing that we're doing at the end of each show. For now, maybe we'll change it in the future, but for now we're having fun with it. It's a section called winners and losers. So yeah, I'm gonna ask Daniel and D, like, dudes, who do you think this week's biggest winners and losers were?
You
Could
want
be
to go
anything, by the way. It
ahead, D?
doesn't have to be a token or a project. Could be like figures. Could even be launches. Could be TGEs. Anything. Just go wide.
Mute myself, sorry. I'm happy to go first. I think, one of the winners of this week, I think it's definitely something like Aave. They've brought this big announcement out. There's a clear defined mission they're trying to achieve. Just use Aave, borrowing and lending, and it's the one of the slightly more serious protocols from our industry. They've had decent staying power. Survived multiple depegs, the lunar collapse. Proven that they are a decent protocol within the industry. And I think it's interesting to see the trajectory of them over the next few years if they go on to be the dominant borrowing and lending company in the entire blockchain space, and maybe even branch out from there. Who knows? I'd say the biggest loser of the week was probably OX Fun. There's a big FUD about some scammer or someone had over 1 million USDC frozen on their platform, and their price is basically fully retraced.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I think it was like though. I think most of that was from the week before. But yeah, like they put out a statement, or like, oh, like he was trying to manipulate the market. But I mean, prices. Yeah, like you have a tradable token, a liquid token. The price is what matters. Like it doesn't even necessarily matter like who's right and who's wrong. Ox is a token. The guy who put 1 million USDC in there, he does not have a token. Or he tried to launch one, right? He tried to like launch a meme coin after. Um, yeah, I mean, I think I actually think that's like a good example of like the chaos of the industry. You know what I mean? Like just the random stuff. Um, I mean, it's interesting. I don't probably not good like for that for just kind of things to be like a regular occurrence, but it is interesting.
Yeah, this was some of it. Uh, I mean, there's a story like this every week, right? Um,
Yeah, yeah. Um,
I mean, is it better to say Bybit were the biggest loser? I know it wasn't this week, but from last week.
maybe. I mean,
yeah,
they came out on
but
top
but
though.
they kind
Like,
of turned it
yeah,
into a win.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. That was actually a flex. That like they handled it very well, right? Um, yeah, that one. Wow. Yeah, I would say that that's actually a W. Um, yeah,
yeah.
but it's not this week. Yes, for me, I would say the biggest winner is going to be ADA. I mean, it's up like almost 30%. So like you can't deny that, right? Like what are the tokens that are up the most this week? Like it's just those, right? Those tokens that were mentioned in the reserve. I think Ondo is up a little bit, but it mostly retraced that move. But yeah, Ada's been doing okay. While we're live, I saw that David Sachs just posted that like he only included Ada, Sol, and XRP only because like they're a top 5 right by market cap token. So it's something special about Ada or Ada, Sol, and XRP that made them go in that announcement tweet. It's just the fact that they're like the top 5. So yeah, it's not even that the fact that they're like made in America or whatever. That their foundations in America is just completely random. Not random, right? So I mean, I'm surprised that
They
they're a
had to
top
pull some
5
tickets
by
for the
market cap.
announcement.
Yeah, I'm surprised that there are still a top 5 coin by market cap. I swear that wasn't the case like earlier last year. But yeah, I mean, Ado is underperforming the others. Like, so all the other names in that list, like Bitcoin, Sol, XRP, like they were doing all right before that, right? Like XRP obviously had his
Yeah,
big pump. Sol has his own, narrative, but Ada had like nothing going for it. Um, so I would say it's a winner in my book. Yeah, that's something going for it now. Like that big, wow, that's a big candle. Um, Ada for the losers, it's everything. Like I'm just saying, the entire market for this week. Um, yeah, the entire market is a loser. Like it's one of those weeks where you can just list off, yeah, the market collectively. I mean, yeah, everything's
yeah,
not looking good. Hype not doing good. AI tokens not doing very good. Bitcoin itself, just like it just aids the trade. Like it's just going up, going down. Um, yeah, I don't think much more needs to be said on that, right? I think everyone's feeling the pain. Yeah,
for sure.
Tron,
Sometimes the night
Tron
is
in the green.
darkest before dawn. That's all we have to remember in this industry. So a little bit of
We have
a
to remember what?
that sometimes the night is darkest before dawn.
Let's go.
You
Yeah.
know,
Uh,
if you stuck with it
and
this long, you can probably take a few more months of pain. another year of pain if need be. Go and get a job.
Maybe,
I
but I
mean,
mean, the past month is like you had alt going down like 80%, 70% in 1 month. Like, so I don't know. I don't know. You tell me. Can I take it? Um, yeah, it's been brutal. Like particularly brutal. I think it's not. Yeah, it's like a definitely feels worse than like the chop from last year. Yeah, it's such a quick downward spiral. So we'll see if the bottom is the bottom in. I don't know.
yeah,
We'll see.
it's just more acute. Like it's so hectic. It's so dramatic. But I guess if you're still here, I guess you just like paint in this industry at this point. Um, man, yeah, let's wrap it up, guys. So very interesting talk. We'll see what happens at the White House Crypto Summit. If it would be a nothing burger or if something meaningful will come out of it. Um, but yeah, it's definitely been interesting to talk about the implications of it all. Um, Dee and Daniel, thanks for being here. I also want to thank the audience for tuning in. Actually, quite a lot of you. That's really cool. So yeah, we're gonna keep doing this every Thursday. Today's Friday. That's just a one-off, but we'll do this every week on Thursday. We'll have Daniel on. We'll have Dee on. We'll also have other members of the team on, and from time to time, we'll have on some cool guests. So yeah, we're just gonna keep it dynamic and fresh and fun. And if you caught on like halfway, midway, we are going to release this on our YouTube channel over the weekend. So yeah, stay tuned there and catch the full episode there. Um, that's it for now. This was a ton of fun. I'm looking forward to the next one, to next week, and we'll see what crazy news we have then, and how we can make sense of it all. Guys, thanks for being here.
Always a
Catch you on the
pleasure.
next one.
Yep,
Awesome.
looking forward to it.